Welcome to our business segment right here on PM News. Mineworkers at Lonmin, Anglo American Platinum and Impala Platinum began returning to work today following the resolution of the 5-month strike in the sector. Lonmin says the returning workers would have to undergo medicals and retraining before they could resume their jobs. We're now joined in the studio by Abbey, who is Executive Vice President, Human Resources at Lonmin. Good afternoon to you and welcome.
Good afternoon, Colin.
All right, let's start off with talking about the different conflicting statements by Lonmin and AMCU. Lonmin says there's no winner in this agreement, and AMCU says this is a victory. What do you make out of that?
Well, I think the point that we're making, Colin, is if one looks at the 5-month strike, the losses that have been incurred by the companies, the losses that have been incurred by the employees, and the immense hardship that is being experienced by all the stakeholders, we clearly cannot talk about anyone being a winner out of this strike, and we would maintain that view.
But isn't it that they are saying when life gives you lemons, you must make lemonade out of it?
Indeed, but the harsh reality is, a lot has been lost over the last 5 months, and it will take quite a lot of time to recover what has been lost. And we continue to hope that the agreement that we concluded yesterday with AMCU will indeed bring an end to this misery, and that all of us will now start working on rebuilding our business.
All right, so it wouldn't start right away, as in like today, because you have to do retraining and medical checkups. Then how is Lonmin going to make a recovery, because you have not been producing and your suppliers have also been suffering?
Yeah, indeed. I think the primary focus at this stage is welcoming employees back at work, and indeed great numbers of our employees have reported for work this morning. We are focusing also on preparing the employees for a safe return into their different workplaces, and it's going to take us time to recover. We have no doubt about that. And as I said, our focus at this stage is how do we get the business going again, and have to find a way of making sure that we address the critical challenge that has been posed by this 5-month strike.
Isn't it going to usher in now talks about mechanization and retrenchment? Well,
I think we have made a point before that mechanization isn't necessarily a panacea. It is an option that most of us are looking at, or that most of us may have looked at in the past. Our primary focus at this stage is how do we get back into full production, because without production, without us producing, it's going to be very, very difficult for us to address this whole issue of the impact of the strike and the challenge that we have insofar as ensuring that we've got a business that is profitable, that is sustainable beyond this strike. And therefore, as we have maintained with AMCU when we started the negotiations last year and when the strike started, restructuring in the current circumstances is inevitable. But our primary focus at this stage is how do we get the business going again.
What's going to happen in as far as the deal is concerned to the NUM members who had actually gotten a 400 rand increase? Then the AMCU members actually have bargained even for more.
Yes. Well, in the case of Lonmin, we do not have that challenge because AMCU is the majority union. The NUM hasn't been in negotiations with us this year. As you would know, the NUM was recognized at Lonmin some time ago, and therefore we do not have the challenge of having to augment whatever may have been agreed in the past. We do know, though, that that is the situation with Anglo American Platinum, and I'm sure Anglo would have clarified what their position is in that regard.
Let's talk about your reserves. Are you having enough for supplying your business partners in as far as production that had lasted until last year before the strike started in January?
Look, I think Lonmin has been in an unfortunate position that we have not produced since January. And therefore, it is very, very critical for us to get back into full production as soon as possible. And as I said, our focus is getting back there, and we accept the fact that it's going to take us a while to get there. I mean, we have announced that it will take our employees at least a couple of weeks to go through the induction program, to go through the medicals, and to go through a process of preparing them for production. So we're really looking forward to us being able to get back into full production as soon as possible.
So then, when going into the conclusion of this interview, I'd like you to tell us about the future wage negotiations, because, I mean, it took long for the unions and management of the mines to budge. So in your future negotiations, because you have a multi-term agreement, what's going to happen then? Are you still going to be in a disagreement with the demand from the workers?
Well, I think what's critical now, Colin, is we have this wage agreement which has a number of elements. One of those elements is the wage increases which are now being implemented. The other element is a range of process issues which we will be working with AMCU on, and we have committed ourselves that within 30 days of signing the agreement, work has to start around those process issues. And it is our hope that we will, over the next 3 years, cover sufficient ground that we do not find ourselves in this situation again.
And many people have been interested in the workers because they're going to get back pays, and the issue of counseling regarding personal finance management and expenditure.
Part of a Safe Startup program is indeed financial well-being of our employees. And this is bolstered in the work that Lonmin has been doing over the last number of years. Getting our employees more able to deal with their finances, more able to deal with their budgets, and so on and so forth. So it's an issue that we've been dealing with and that we will continue to deal with, and that in the current environment has become even more critical. So that there is a commitment from our side to invest as much energy as possible into helping employees in that regard.
All right. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.
And of course, we'll be talking there to Abbey Kgotle, who is Executive Vice President, Human Resources at Lonmin, right here on PM News. Right, moving on now. South Africa must move with speed to implement the National Development Plan. That's the view of some commissioners of the National Planning Commission. They say currently the economy is on a path to nowhere and needs to change direction before it's too late.
South Africa has been celebrating 20 years of democracy this year, stressing its achievements over the last 2 decades. But to some, it's the next 20 years that matter the most. They argue that the country needs a radical shift in approach to boost the current sluggish growth rates of below 2%.
Nigeria has recently surpassed